support the no plane, no gain.
Hello and welcome to another Loop Show special on the road, and once again we're back in sunny Germany for Europe's biggest event for GA pilots and aviation, which is of course Aero 2011 here at Friedrichshafen. And as ever, if it's got a jet engine or a piston engine or a diesel engine, solar power, electric power, fixed wing, rotorcraft, flex wing, you name it, it's all here. So what have we got coming up in the show for you? First, we're going to look at Tecnam, who have not one but two brand new aircraft to show you, including one with an amazing 11 seats that they managed to keep very much under wraps, quite literally. As always, our guy with the eye in the sky will bring you his top 5. It's DC making a special guest appearance here on the show. Also be bringing you a very nice new design from Autogyro. They've got a side-by-side design called the Cavalon. And we've got a fantastic interview with Brent Wouters, a top man at Cirrus. So, on with the show. Now, looking at new aircraft news, of course, there's stacks of new ones here. Home manufacturer, let's start with them, Flight Design. They've turned up with a new 4-seater called the C4. Now, it's just a mock-up concept at full scale, and it's a pretty big aircraft. It's right up there with Cessna 172 size, and that's pretty much what they're aiming for. In terms of performance, they want it to do 155, 160 knots. It's got a maximum range of up to 1,200 nautical miles, and that's with 600 kilos of payload. Now, this really marks quite a significant move by Flight Design. Everyone knows them as the king of the LSA, but this sees them move up into fully type certified aircraft. Piper and Cessna, watch out, people are chasing you. Another home manufacturer is Comco. Everyone knows, of course, their Icarus C-42, really popular aircraft. They've come out with one called the C-52 here, which is broadly the same size, but featuring many updates from over the years, some carbon composite parts, better payload capability on that. Looks really nice too, a suede interior, can't go wrong with that. So moving on to Pilatus, the Swiss manufacturer. Very well known, of course, for the PC-12 and PC-12NG, the large single-engine turboprop. Well, now they're working on something called the PC-24, which, as you might guess from the name, has two engines. There's absolutely no images or renderings of this yet, but keep your eyes peeled, and of course, when we have them, we'll show you them here first. Now, moving slightly lighter. CSA, of course, Czech Sport Aircraft. They now have a high wing. CSA don't have a name for it. In fact, they're inviting suggestions for the name here at the show. It's quite distinctive, and it features some of the family traits, and the most noticeable, of course, is this folding canopy that comes forward, which is pretty unusual on a high wing, so they're definitely looking for something a bit unusual. Now, just around the corner from the CSA stand, the former lead designer at Czech Sport Aircraft has gone and built a new aircraft himself, the BRM Aero, and guess what? It looks exactly like a sport cruiser. You would be very hard pushed to tell them apart if you put them side by side. And finally, in our Trevor McDonald moment, it's a Hawker Hurricane replica built by an Italian company called Flying Legends. They're doing the Hurricane and also a Tucano, which they hope to have as kit and ready to fly by the end of the year. Now, they're resplendent and simple markings and bare metal, and they're absolute little crackers. We love them. Anyway, enough of the news roundabout. I've got on a date with a hot Italian. Tecnam have absolutely bundles to talk about here at Aero Friedrichshafen. The Italian manufacturer has really gone from strength to strength, and the star of the show is this. What can it be? It's Tecnam's new P2012 Traveller. It's their new mini airliner. Now, the 2012 is a real step up for Tecnam. This really is a miniature airliner, up to 9 passengers in total, and a range of over 650 nautical miles at best. Now, this came about because a major airliner in the US, Cape Air, the largest commuter airliner, said, we want you to design an aircraft for us. It went to the whole industry. This is what Tecnam came up with, and Cape Air said, this is by far the best. Now, you might expect it to be a turbine-operated aircraft. It's not. It's got Lycoming 540s. This is an engine in development. Paolo Pascal is going to tell us more about it.
The most important thing is the possibility to use MOGAS. That's why we have focused our interest on this engine. So Lycoming is working for us very hard. The TEO has single level, so it's the right engine for this aircraft, especially for the MOGAS.
Now, what timeline? Obviously, at the moment we just have the mock-up, but at some point you'll be cutting metal and putting an aircraft into flight.
Yes, we should be able to cut the first part in 9 months and have the prototype flying in 18 months. Final certification in less than 4 years.
What sort of price tag do you think there will be?
It's a guess, of course, but we should try to be between 1.2 to 1.4 million euros.
What do you see the future for Tecnam in the 10 years that you perhaps mentioned before?
Well, you see, we live our life day by day, so I don't know what there will be in the future. I don't know if there will be another step up, probably not.
So there's no 4-engine Tecnam?
No. Well, it could be a 4, we could use 4 Rotax engine, why not?
You heard it here first.
A quadrimotor, yes.
Thank you very much indeed for revealing that secret.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now the P2012 isn't the only new aircraft that Tecnam have here to show quite the opposite. This is of course the P2010, it's our first look at the real aircraft. Now you might remember a year ago we saw an artist rendering of this Tecnam's 4-seater. It seems very squarely pitched at the Cessna 172 SP, and it's as if the designers at Tecnam have taken the Cessna spec sheet and thought, how can we improve most of these things? It's a little bit quicker, it's a little bit faster. It uses the same IO360 engine from Lycoming, but the fuel burn is lower. And of course, being carbon fibre, it's got something like 70 to 75 kilos of additional payload capability and another 60 to 70 nautical miles worth of range. And it's cheaper too. This can come with a G500 Garmin or a G1000 or an analogue setup that starts at 185,000 euros. So it's really hotting up the 4-seat end of the market. Now you'll know if you've ever met an Autogyro pilot that they will not stop telling you how much fun they are to fly, what great value they are too. Now you wouldn't necessarily have said that luxury aviation and Autogyros went hand in hand in the past, but the world's biggest manufacturer, Autogyro, at their home show have rolled this out. This is the limousine of Autogyros, it's the brand new Cavalon. So Omar, nobody better to ask, is this the limousine in the Autogyro range now?
I think it looks like, yeah, and it was a plan to do so. And I mean, we have projects before, but the plan was to go into the upper class and high-end design, and that's what we realized, yes. I mean, we got the range. The MTO Sport is the open, sporty aircraft. The Calidus is the cruise machine, and this is the side-by-side for, I would say, less speed and more comfort. So maybe for a couple or for instruction. And I think there's market for both kinds of aircraft. It was part of the plan to say we want to offer something that looks very much like an aircraft, only flies like a rotor aircraft, a rotary wing. I mean, you see it's adjustable pedals, it's a center stick position, fully controlled for both sides. And the arrangement in the panel is, there's a certain system. It's always the fuse side on this side, it's always the analog instruments on that side, and the mid panel is interchangeable between the EFIS systems or the GPS systems or without anything. You can fly it with open doors, so when they're unhinged, you got exactly the feeling we have now with the open doors. You can keep one door in or both closed. And my vision is more to combine earlier or later flying and driving. And if you imagine with the arrangement of landing lights we have today and the seat position we are, how much closer we are to something driving on the road as well with this one, I think that's the next step we will move forward for.
Now interestingly, going to the side-by-side arrangement from in tandem, how in single pilot use, how does that affect balance and operation and practical flying?
That's part of the question, and that was why I always denied the side-by-side project, because I know from aviation that most people fly most times solo, and only very seldom they have a co-pilot or whoever with them. It does affect it when you're flying single-piloted. You will hang banged a tiny bit, 1 degree, 1.5 degrees. We arranged it in a way that we optimized it with a center fuel tank, but a heavy co-pilot or light co-pilot, there's definitely a difference in angle you're hanging.
Do you think we'll ever see a 4-seat Autogyro?
Generally, technically, it's possible. From my idea to do it, it's possible. I only see at this point of time that the certification basis, what is not really written. I mean, in the USA, we are stuck on the ASTM standards. They're in place, but there is no class to legalize it in. In the UK, we are limited to dual-seated in the Section T class. Maybe there is another saying we go up to 2 tons, but not within the next 3 years. Technically, yes, and earlier or later, yes, as well.
So Aero 2012, no, but maybe one day.
Yes.
Omar, thank you very much.
Okay, welcome.
Now let's look at some of the announcements from the other suppliers that aren't aircraft manufacturers themselves. Garmin have come with a host of things to talk about. The most notable of those is their new GTN system, Garmin Touchscreen Navigator. The 650 and the 750, these are there to replace the very, very popular GNS 430 and 530 system. They also showed us the first look at their new wide panel display, the G2000, which looks like a 2-screen version of the G1000 with lots of extra features. Again, touchscreen as well. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Apple iPad working its way into aircraft in many different forms, and quite recently the FAA seemed to have given it a nod to do something quite significant in business aviation. So how's Aero Friedrichshafen dealing with it? Jeppesen, of course, the king of charts worldwide. They've migrated their mobile TC system onto the App Store, which means if you already have that as a subscription, you can get this for free on the iPad device. It looks absolutely crystal clear and really, really useful. Now, another firm that's doing something quite similar is, of course, TrueTrack. Now, they provide engine monitoring devices, and by using one of those hooked up through wireless to another iPad, it means basically you can bring like a miniature electronic display for your engine systems into any kind of aircraft. Now, up front where the power comes from, Diamond, of course, will be looking for a really strong, powerful engine for their DA50 Magnum. At the moment, they're looking at a marine-based engine built by a company called Steyr. They're in partnership with Austro Engine, and they showed here a first look at their AE500. It's something like 230, 250 horsepower, but it's heavy. It's nearly 1/4 of a ton of weight, and that's coming down from where they are at the minute. They've got a lot of work to do there, but it certainly looks an impressive lump of metal. Elsewhere, UL Power, the Belgian manufacturer, showed us finally their first example of the 6-cylinder engine that should be available for sale by the end of the year, we hope. It's in 4 iterations from 145 horsepower up to 200, and it takes MoGas and 98 octane, so it isn't AFGAS reliant. They're also talking about getting it certified because it's in the US market, Lycoming and TCM, is a really, really profitable place to go. Now, with all this noise up front, you want a little bit of peace and quiet when you're doing the job of trying to fly the aircraft. Biodynamic have brought out the new range-topping headsets, the HS800. They're selling like hotcakes. It's smidgen under €800, and it features 2 different types of digital algorithms to keep the noise reduction at its best. Sounds very complicated, but I've tried it quickly and it is very impressive. Anyway, enough of all that. Now it's time for DC's Top 5.
No coverage of the Friedrichshafen show will be complete without my top 5. In at number 5 is this, the Aero Volga amphibian aircraft. It's an 8-seater. It's powered by 2 Lycoming IO540s, which can burn MoGas as well as AVGAS. And if you look down here, you'll see it's shaped like a boat underneath. It's a true amphibian. Aero Volga point out that in Russia there are about 500 airfields, but tens of thousands of stretches of water that are suitable for landing on. Makes sense. In at number 4 is the Skyleader 100. It's an all-metal single-seater designed by a bunch of students in Prague and the company Skyleader, and I absolutely love it. You can either have this canopy which comes right over, or, and I really like the sound of this, a nice little windscreen up there for open-air flying. The engine is a Rotax 5822 stroke, developing 60 horsepower, and that's enough to push this along at 140 kilometres an hour. One of the best things about this, of course, is the price. You can have this fully built, ready to fly for €35,000, or you can build a kit from 16,000. Now, I've just got to get out of this thing. Number 3 on my list is the Savage Bobber. As you can see, there's not much to it. It's based on a motorcycle idea of stripping off as much as you can and customising the rest. There's lots of nice touches, such as these saddlebags at the back. Everything comes in lots of different colours, and it's perfect for flying on a summer's day. In at number 2 is the aircraft that Richard brought to you earlier, the Tecnam P2010. It edges the Cessna 172 in just about every respect: cruise speed, comfort, number of doors, and even on price. It's important to our top 5 because it shows Tecnam moving into yet another new category. In at number 1, numero uno, the best looking aircraft in the show, the totally gorgeous FK-14 Le Mans. The most obvious feature of the aircraft, of course, is the double-bubble open cockpit, styled to look like a 1950s racing car. Underneath it is a gorgeous cockpit with twin Garmin screens and luxurious leather upholstery. Based on the standard FK-14, which has the full canopy, it's also fitted with a tail wheel. Those touches, plus the paint scheme, make it my number 1 at the show.
And when it comes to dramatic moments in aviation, the launch of the Cirrus SR22 is by any regard seen as one of the big ones of the last 10 years. And guess what? It was 10 years ago that the 22 came out. And of course, every year since then, it's pretty much been the best-selling four-seat aircraft in the world. And of course, behind me is a special anniversary edition tomorrow that has a three-tone paint job, asymmetric, so it looks different from both sides, much like a custom car. It has LED lights, it has carbon fiber inserts and special leather trim. And it does feature one thing that we've seen for the first time on a production Cirrus. It's Garmin's ESP system. This is what they call the 6th sense for pilots. It was launched last year at Oshkosh, and Cirrus are the first to fit it onto a production aircraft. One example of use would be hypoxia. It will detect if you've fallen asleep at the wheel effectively, regain control of the aircraft and descend it to a safer altitude. Now, aside from this 10th anniversary special, the big news surrounding Cirrus at the moment is, of course, their proposed tie-up with a very large Chinese company, which injects a huge amount of finances into Cirrus and pretty much secures their future and opens the doors to all those new designs that we know they want to get out there. The primary one, of course, being the jet. The person who knows most about it at all, in a rare European appearance, is the Cirrus CEO, Brent Wouters. Brent, you've got some really good news to tell the world, and I think, why don't you just go ahead and go out with it?
Well, we've been pleased to tell the world, and obviously we announced in late February that we've entered into a merger transaction with KEGA out of China, and it's just a huge opportunity for us as a business. It's really critical to move forward at this stage. We'll be in an enviable position, well capitalized, with great future products like the jet. We've worked over the last 20 months to get to this point, and we're anxious to get to the closing on this.
What are they looking for, do you think? KEGA being an arm of a much larger aviation business.
From an investment standpoint, they're a lot like our current investors. We're currently foreign owned, and this will be a foreign owned entity. And they're looking at it as an equity investment, but they're also looking at, over time, the vision for growing general aviation, both inside their country, building the right airspace rules, the right infrastructure, and having the best products that they can have inside of China. But they see a very big opportunity, especially coming out of this recession, for aviation worldwide. They're well beyond the notion of 10 or 20 years ago about having jobs in production in China. They're about affiliating themselves with the best brands, the best products, and growing that globally and leveraging what, in this case, what Cirrus has in the U.S. They're even talking about moving their headquarters to the U.S. to grow from this centerpiece of aviation.
Now, it's no secret that you've been working under a straitened scenario the last couple of years because of the downturn. But what's that really meant to the SF50 Vision, which is your sort of high-profile project?
Certainly the program, the timing, it's taken a hit. We've made good progress spending the precious few dollars that we could. We finished the external loft of the airplane, all the aerodynamic flight testing that was going on, the flight testing with respect to icing. We're in the middle of the parachute testing, so we designed the parachute and got that done. And right now we're in the middle of detailed design for this airplane. We'll start to build production tooling, which gets us to the conforming prototype. So we're thrilled with the progress we've made, and although admittedly we would have liked to move faster, and I'm certainly impatient like everybody else, but we've really made good progress given the circumstances and spent every available dollar on this program.
Now, all companies have pushed forward. They have the guys working on the new projects, and they have the guys shut in a darkened room that are thinking much farther down the line. Have you got any things you might be able to tell us about?
We definitely have a dark room, and we have people in it.
Brent, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, it's not all brand new stuff here at Aero 2011. There's a project ongoing in Germany to return to flight what will be the world's only Junkers F-13, and this is a 1920 aircraft that is the world's first all-metal commercial aircraft. Very important project. First step in that is to get an engine, and this is a Junkers L5. It's the only one of its type in the world. They've had to beg, borrow and steal parts from museums all over Germany to get this example up and running. That's 23 litres and 6 cylinders and 6 open pipes. Do you think it's going to be noisy? There's only one way to find out. that's it for our annual pilgrimage to Europe's biggest show here on Luke TV. As ever, everything we've showed you, we've got lots more detail as well to talk about. So check back, there'll be more extensive interviews, demonstrations and looks at some of those really cool new aircraft. So we're done for another year. We'll see you soon, and hopefully, if you didn't get here this year, you're already thinking about booking your tickets for Aero 2012. You will love it. Bye-bye.